Custom formatting could be very useful in some situations, especially when you want to keep your number or text, but you want to show it differently. So for example, you want to hide it, you want to write something different. So let me show you in this tutorial a bit more details about custom formatting. And we're gonna start with just a couple of columns. So here I have my agent and I have some numbers. So imagine you have those numbers and then your boss comes and he doesn't want to show the numbers. He wants to show every positive number. He wants to write positive. Every negative number he wants to write negative, and he wants to hide the zeros. Why he wants to do this? Because he has a presentation, so he wants to keep the numbers confidential. But for you, you want to use the numbers for other calculations. So you don't want to ruin your math, your Excel, you want to keep the numbers. So before we do this, I'm just going to explain to you the rule around custom formatting. Once you understand this rule, it's going to be way more easier. So basically, I have four, if you want, parts that are separated with semicolons. You don't need to fill the four of them. You can do one, you can do two, three, or four, it doesn't matter. First of all, you have the first thing, which is positive. So this will be the format for all positive numbers. The second one will be the format for negative numbers. The third one for zeros, and then the last one for text. You also have another version of this which can take if statements. So you have the first case and the second case. So you can have two maximum. So let's go back to our example and let's do what we want. So I'm just going to select the numbers. I can press Ctrl 1 if I want, just to get the menu. And here under number, if I go to custom formatting, I can see the format of what I have. So don't worry too much about those. We're gonna explain them in what comes. So what we need to think about is now for my positive numbers, I want to write positive. So how do I do this? Well, if you remember what I showed you about the rule, we can just come here and type positive in double quotation, then do a semicolon. So this is for my positive numbers. For negative, I want to do the same, but I want to write negative. So this is negative. Then semicolon. For zero, we said we don't want to show them. So if I don't want to show them, I can just keep it blank and have another semicolon. So that will tell Excel that the zeros will not be shown. And for text, I don't need to change anything. So I'm just gonna keep it like this. So when I press OK, you can see that now the positive numbers are written as positive, negative as negative, and the zeros are gone. And if you click on one of them, you can see that the number still stays behind. So for example, if I want to do a calculation, I can just do this B2 times 5, for example, and if I just change the format, I can use this comma, you can see that I get a number. So although it looks like it's a text, actually behind it's a number, and I can do my mathematical calculations. Now if I want everything to be blank, now it's easy. We just take the whole thing. We can just click now here to get the format. We go to number, and whatever you had previously written will be stored here as a format, so you can use it if you want to. But if we think about it now, I want everything to be blank. So what I could do is just do this. Remove the positive, remove the negative, and then just keep semicolons. If I press OK, then you can see that everything has disappeared, but the numbers are still there. Now, if you want to get your original format back, I'm just going to select those numbers. If you try things like the comma, for example, you can see that I'm getting it back. You can do, for example, general, and then you get back what you had. That's easy. So now that you got the hang of it, let me explain to you how you can change your format and create your custom format. So here I have a data set. I have the same thing here. And if I select it and I click on this arrow, I go to number, custom, you can see that I have a lot of hashes and a lot of zeros. So what does it mean? we're gonna start with a case where I'm just using one hash. So before the dot, which is the decimal separator, if I put a hash, it means I can have as many number of digits as I want that are relevant for this number. So if I press OK, you can see that now everything after the dot is gone, and here I have 1, so 1 will stay, 11 will stay, etc. If I use the 0, it's gonna be different. So Control 1, 0 is actually a placeholder for a character, whether it's relevant or not. So let's try it with a 0 first, and you can see that I get kind of the same thing. And then if I try to put 3 zeros instead of 1 0, what will happen? You can see that here I had 1, but because I specified that I want a character here, it has added zeros to this 1. If you use the hash, this will not happen. Let's look now at what happens after the decimal place. So I'm just gonna click here on this arrow, number, custom, and here I'm gonna say hash dot hash. So we say OK, and then you can see that after the decimal place, if I have one hash, it means if there is a relevant number, so it's not like a 0 or something, it will have it. So this is why you have a number that is truncated. Now if I use the 0, it's gonna be different. So Control 1, so instead of this, let's have a 0. Here you have the same thing that happens because this is one decimal place, but if you put another set of zeros and you say OK, you can see that now it will start adding extra zeros even though you don't need it. So you can now use both of them in one custom formatting and get the desired result. So let's try to do a 1000 separator on these numbers, and let's have 2 decimal places. So I'm selecting the numbers and I'm going to do Control 1, custom, and here I want for my positive numbers first, we have hash, then we have a comma for the 1000 separator, then we can have 2 hashes, a 0 to make sure I have at least one character, then dot, and then we can have, for example, 0 0 to tell Excel that I want 2 places after the decimal. And you can see this is a sample output. So if I press OK, I'm gonna have this for my positive numbers. For my negative numbers, because I did not specify anything, and for my zeros, it took the format for all of them. Now I can specify something different for my zeros and for my negative numbers. So let's try it out. We go back to here, custom, we can do semicolon. Then let's assume that you want to do the negative numbers between parentheses. So we're gonna open a parenthesis and then we're gonna have the same thing, hash, comma, hash hash 0.00, close parenthesis, and then we have a semicolon. For 0, I want to write 0, so I'm just gonna put it in double quotations. So I'll press OK, and you can see that the different formats apply to different numbers. So these are the negative ones, these are the zeros, and these are the positive ones. Let's do the total of this, and let's try to add a text before the total. So we're gonna do equal sum. Let's select our numbers, close the sum, we get a number, Control 1, and I'll go here and I'll say total in double quotation mark, and then I want the number, so let's do a format. So that's a hash, comma, 0, 0, 0, for example, dot 0. So one decimal place. Let's press OK, and you can see that you get the total with this number. Now the good thing about this is that you can, for example, do a division. So if I divide this by my total, it will work. It will give me a number. We can just put some decimal places and then you can see the number. Whereas if I wrote, for example, total in double quotation mark and sum of this, this will be treated as a text, and if you try to do a division, it's not gonna work. So we'll try the same division, and I'll show you get value. The last thing we're gonna do is to try to put a condition. So for example, everything above 7,000, we want to have it in green. So I select the numbers, and then I can do Control 1, and here I can do, for example, green in this brackets, so that's the color I chose, and then I open the same bracket, bigger than 7,000, close this bracket, then we're going to use a simple format, hash.0. This is my first condition. My second condition, for example, we're going to put red in those brackets, and then we open the bracket, smaller or equal than 7,000, and then you close this bracket, and you can have similar format, for example. Then you press OK, and you can see that this 8,000 number, which is above 7,000, becomes green, and then the rest is red. So this is an overview on how you can use custom formatting for coloring and so on. What I will do is I will give you this workbook. So here you have a few of the signs that you can use. So you can see here I have some for dates, for time, etc. So you can use those ones. And here I have some common formats. You have the example here, and you have what format got used, and it will use the symbols that you can see in the legend. So that will help you get started and try it out. So please let me know in the comment section whether you have used custom formatting, what's the situation, and as usual, please, to help the channel grow, I would love it if you can subscribe to the channel and like this video.